Thanks very much, Michael. It's always a high-risk strategy when you follow a senior media executive who controls purse strings, but the findings of your presentation chime with his. I'm relieved and delighted to say that I think some of my observations do. Thanks for that. I run a company called I Believe. I Believe is a digital sales agency. Very simply, we sell advertising. We sell advertising on the internet and also across mobile websites and mobile apps. We've about 80 media owners under management, and I'm delighted to say that some of my clients are in the room. Bill talked earlier about our Tower of Babel. I think, without wanting to dwell on bad news, this is our Tower of Babel, and unfortunately at the moment, the first quarter appears not to show any abatement in the level of decline. But we're a resilient group of people, and we will struggle through. In stark relief, online is in rude health, posting a 12.3% increase year on year. Many moons ago, when I used to present, I've been working in digital since 1996, would you believe? And we used to show stellar double-digit year-on-year increases, but that was from a very low base. That's no longer the case. Digital by the end of this year will be twice the size of radio, and it'll be the number 3 medium by end of this year. So very significant source of ad revenues. However, what I would say, and I think it's important to peel back the numbers, digital is built on 3 planks. So there's 3 constituent parts within digital. I think it's important to lift the veil, if you like. Search is the biggest element. So when you take search out of the mix, you drop about 75 million euro. When you take classifieds out of the mix, you drop a further 37, 38 million euro. So what we would call traditional display advertising is worth about 50 million. And that's the market that we all operate in to a large extent. And that's a highly competitive market for a number of reasons. 2 years ago, Facebook were not actively selling advertising. They now are. 1 year ago, Twitter were not trying to eat our lunch. Now they are. 1 year ago, real-time bidding didn't really exist in the Irish space. So actually, when you peel it all back, despite the fact it's the fastest growing medium, despite the fact, as Michael said, it'll be the biggest medium in time, our share of that medium is actually not as big as it may sound. What's driving online ad spend? Very simply, more people spending longer on time, again, across more devices. In terms of formats, what formats are accounting for the ad spend? Almost 3/4 of spend goes against what we call embedded formats, what you guys will know as banners. Video accounts for 10%, and sponsorship and tenancy accounts for the other 10%. In terms of what brands are gravitating towards online, this shows no difference to what you'll see yourselves in your radio businesses, FMCG, finance, telecoms, automobile. So no great differences in terms of the pattern of spend. In terms of future stimuli of growth in digital, what's going to drive growth? It'll be more immersive ad formats, basically bigger ads, video, mobile, and as I said, real-time bidding. We live in a brave new world, and I think we've talked a lot about this today, but there is an endless supply of media we can devote our time and attention to. There are all manner of devices. Interactivity is part of the experience now. We love to comment, share, like things. But I think of interest, actually, is the fact that, and the great leveler for me, is that there's only 24 hours in the day. So we don't have more time. Despite the fact that there are more things to do with our time, we have the same amount of time. So that, in a sense, puts pressure on us to choose wisely how we're going to spend our media time. I just wanted to talk to you, again, as an outsider, just 2 things that I think are interesting to look at. A Clear Channel in the US have launched a product called iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio is an amalgam of 1,500 radio stations. So from a choice point of view, I mean, you don't get more choice than that. Spotify, similarly, in similar vein, allow the user to curate their own radio experience. Now, these are developments that are close to your industry, but I think they're at one end of the spectrum, and I firmly believe they don't replace that unique relationship that users have with their local radio station. Digital, for me, is very much unbounded. The area that you guys inhabit when you apply for licenses, FM licenses, your areas are bounded. There are boundaries. There are bounded. But online, there are no boundaries. What I just wanted to show you here is two dashboards we would use in the office, okay? And again, that idea of there not being any boundaries, I think, is very evident here. What you see is that with the click of a mouse, I can channel a campaign to reach people in Carlow, Cavan, Clare, or Cork. Not only can I be geographically specific, but on top of that, I can layer things like time of day, ad content, content, mobile carrier, mobile device. So really we're living in the era of incredible precision advertising. The other big question that I suppose needs to be answered is, who do we compete with? We compete with a broad range of people who hitherto we wouldn't have considered rivals at all. I thought it was quite interesting recently. I read an interview with Martin Sorrell, who's the chairman of WPP, the biggest advertising services group in the world. And he was commenting on the fact that Google are just about to displace News Corp as WPP's biggest single advertiser. And he called Google a media company masquerading as a technology company. And that's exactly what it is. All of these people who come from, if you look at MSN, it's a software company historically, O2 Media mobile operator, Aircom fixed line, Google technology company. All of these people are now competing for our lunch. Device penetration is staggering as well. And again, we've heard right throughout today that household penetration for these kinds of devices is significant. Ubiquity is the new norm. And I would, as an outsider, really applaud the work that radio stations have done in this regard. Radio seems to have got the fact that people want to be in connection with radio brands across all devices. And I think you've taken that into your programming in a very interesting way. There's shout-outs for things like follow us on Twitter, download the app, watch us on YouTube, etc. My key contention today, though, as an outsider, would be local matters. And this is really, I think this slide really encapsulates that point. This was a study that was done by Amorok Research, who were commissioned by the Association of Online Publishers. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to compare and contrast Irish premium content sites against social networks and portals. And what they found, and this is probably unsurprising, was they found that Irish users trusted Irish sites more so than social networks or portals. Big surprise, you may say, but quite important. Similar question was, which sites are more likely to be more relevant for you? And again, Irish users said, unsurprisingly, that Irish sites were more likely to be more relevant. For me, a key contention here is time is the battleground, and competing for people's attention is the battleground. But for all of us, it's about time well spent. And time well spent, for me, if there's an equation, it's time multiplied by trust, multiplied by relevance. If you're delivering on a trust index and you're delivering on a relevance index, you'll engage users, and if you engage users, you'll compete more effectively for a share of ad spend. So really what I'm here to do today is to talk to you about my experience of how to get more money out of the digital economy, out of the digital market. The first thing I'd say to you is segment your demand. There are different demand levels for your inventory. My contention would be that people who are closer to your business, local businesses, are more likely to pay more money to advertise in your stations. The second point I'd say is that the CPM model that we currently have, where advertising agencies pay CPMs to advertise across sites, doesn't work, and it favours publishers that have real scale. If you don't have 500,000 plus impressions, this model will not work for you. We sell radio sites that are there or thereabouts in terms of that level of scale. But really, unless you have big numbers, selling internet advertising at €6, once you take off agency commission, once you take off sales commissions, it's not really going to work. What I would say to you is you need to focus on what I would call higher yielding formats. So moving away from banners and looking at things like video, looking at things like more immersive, bigger impact ad units. Also, I think it's critical to understand what people are doing when they engage with you online. So study your Google Analytics. Where are people spending time? And unsurprisingly, what you'll find is that 40 to 50% of all time spent on radio stations is in the listen live area. Second to that, news and sport. After that, it's promotions. And what I would say straight away, what you should be doing is selling online, really Facebook, and on-air promotions at the same time. And people should be paying for the net incremental reach you can give them by using Facebook. I'd also say on the mobile front, a lot of you have mobile websites or apps. Please make sure to integrate ad serving capabilities, independent ad serving capabilities into your mobile apps, okay? And it should be the latest version SDKs you use, the versions that allow for rich media advertising, but also push messaging. And the final thing I'd say in terms of revenue prescription is local classifieds. I detect that the local newspapers who are really suffering are going to extricate themselves from a lot of the services they currently offer. I think there's a real opportunity for you guys to develop your transaction business, and this was a point that was mentioned earlier on. There's no reason why you can't white label property websites, property databases, dating databases, automotive databases as part of your public service, if you like, mandate in your areas and deliver those services. I'm firmly of the belief that local advertisers understand the primacy of your station better than national advertisers. I also believe that local advertisers are more likely to want an always-on presence. I also believe that local advertisers are more likely to rely on you for expert services in a smaller market. It's very likely that a local advertiser will actually spend more money with you than they'll spend with anybody else. That's an opportunity for you to sell added value services like SEO, advise them on PPC, build a website, build a microsite, etc. In keeping with the local demand for your inventory being greater than the national demand, what I would do very simply, have a look at your website, have a look at your analytics, have a look at your inventory. And this sounds like a very simple idea. But I would literally divide your inventory by 5 or by 10, and I would parcel it out to your local advertisers. And I would say to them that they have 20% or 10% share of voice across your station. They understand the importance of your station to their business, and by approaching it from a share of voice point of view, I think that repetition that people will see by seeing their ads online, I think will reinforce their brand, and I think will work. So that would be my prescription for local advertising. In terms of the banners and the buttons, I would see this as, if local advertising was tier 1, I would see this as tier 2. As I said, the rate here is under pressure, it's falling. The quick way to, I suppose, make more money is to create more ads on the basis that you can sell all your ads, but it's difficult. But notwithstanding that, I think you should do that, multiply your ads, the number of ads that you have. This is an example of something we've done recently on FM 104. I mean, it's high impact, very immersive, but the beauty of it is that you can command a multiple of ×4, ×5 what you would on a banner ad for this type of impact. The other thing I'd say is, although you guys aren't in the video business, and video is a real poster child, if you like, of the digital business at the moment, for the simple reason that the CPMs are again ×4, ×5 what a banner ad would get you. You are at when people listen to a stream, as 40% of people do on your websites, that is the precise moment to intercept them and give them either a video ad or an audio sting. And I think I really would encourage you to do this, because I think you've terrific inventory. The inventory is the live streaming, and I think you should really start to commercialize this if you're not already. Similarly, this is just an example of an audio ad as opposed to a video ad. And mobile, as we said, we've seen the penetration levels. I would encourage you, if you haven't already, integrate or implement an MRAID compliant SDK. It's a fancy word, but it just means a rich media piece of code that allows for very impactful ads to be served. And you can do something like we've done recently for Centra, a full screen takeover. 100% of the real estate, you can't miss it, highly visible, very powerful. Similarly, and you'll know what your app downloads are, as we all know, app downloads doesn't equate to active usership. One way of circumventing the fact that only 20–30% of your users actually are in-app at any one time is by implementing an SDK, is to get into the push messaging game. So this is a form of, I suppose, what we'd call traditionally direct mail. What it means is that we can actually deliver targeted messages to the entire installed user base. So that other 70 or 80% of people who aren't in-app, we can actually deliver messages to them. I've touched on it already, and you know, I'd have to compliment radio more so than any other medium from what I can see in terms of just driving Facebook numbers. I mean, the figures are absolutely stunning. I mean, I think they compare with your, probably in some cases, your weekly reach. Now, some of these I would call conditional likes because there are certain things you need to like before you can enter a competition or whatever, but notwithstanding that, the numbers are actually absolutely encouraging. They're huge, and right away, sales and or sponsorship and promotions I know accounts for 15–20% of your business. Right away, what I'd be doing is I would be selling the net incremental reach that Facebook gives your advertisers. Okay, and I don't just mean people who aren't listening on air but are listening on Facebook or what have you. I would mean the potential for virality and the potential for shareability as well. Really, that's something you can do straight away if you're not already. In summary, as I said at the start, time and attention are the battleground for ad euros, okay? But it's not just about time, it's what I would call time well spent. Well spent really being, if people are engaged and they trust your content and they trust your presenters and they trust your brand, those are the key differentiators that lift you above a CPT done with Facebook or a CPT done with Twitter. Okay, and again, a bit like Michael, I'd love to see research that shows that your stations are trusted and that they have the potential to engage people deeply, as we know they do. In terms of maximizing your revenue, understand your demand, okay? And this is a bit subjective. I've never sold local radio advertising, but my contention would be you're likely to get a lot more money from people who are in your community, who need your station, who understand the relevance of your station to their business. Straight away, what I'd do is I'd look at pursuing higher yielding ad formats. The banner business is not going to get you there, okay? So you need to look at those video ads or the audio ads that intercept a live stream, okay? You look at 4OD, you look at TV3, you look at RTE. They do what's called ad stacking. Every time you look at a piece of video content, you'll typically see 3, 4, 5 ads, okay? You guys should start putting some ads in there. I'm not advocating that you stack the ads, piss people off, but you should start putting some ads in there. Right away, as I said, I'd scale your sponsorship and promotions reach and impact by extending all of those promotions you're doing to social media and critically charging for them. I'm not saying you're not doing that. Very many of you may be doing it, but if you're not, I'd suggest you do it. And then finally, you know, embrace innovation as much from an editorial perspective as a commercial perspective. Thanks for your time.